Welcome back, CSE 235, to ex2b. Supposed to be a quick one, but this is becoming a longer one, but it's okay because we're covering a lot of material in this, especially with JavaScript. So that's okay. So we're just going with it. So in this part, what we're actually going to do is start outputting whether the person is 21 or they're not. And we're going to have to validate that with another if-else statement. This was an if-else statement that was just used to generate numbers. Now, we could have done that with a loop. There's other ways we could have done that, but this is, from what we know now, that was probably the easiest thing to do and follow. It's a lot of typing, and it's a lot of area that you could screw up. You know, one curly brace, one forgotten equal sign, anything in there could screw you up. Typing, names wrong, all that kind of stuff. There's so many variables in here, but we get the idea. So this would be an area that you'd say, okay, let's make this more efficient. But for now, we need to output stuff. So how do we output stuff? And it has to be after all these variables here. So we're going to output some stuff. So remember, we're using this demo, this paragraph with an ID of demo. So to output to there, what we're going to do is we're going to output something. So we'll go back here. And I did this differently when I practiced it, but we can make like two variables. That way, we can just plug it in our if-else statement. And what we'll do is we'll make a variable that represents the string, because that'll be easier to just plug that in later. So I'll just put yes21. We'll make the variable be you are 21 and a semicolon. And then we'll copy that and we'll make it be not 21. And we'll just put sorry, you are not 21. Okay, so these variables just represent strings. They're not going anywhere yet, but we're going to put them into our output. And we're not going to have our output actually display until we confirm that everything's correct. So let's start working on that. So we're going to look at this stuff here. So we're going to set up an if statement. We're going to say if parentheses, and we're going to look at what we kind of did here. Okay, so we do have a variable called b year 21. So that's the first thing. If their birth year plus 21 is less than the current year, so if it adds together and it happens to come out to 2022, then they're good. Then we know they're 21. So that's the first thing. So we're going to say if b year 21 is less than, just less than, not equal to, because we don't want it to be 2023. We want it to be less than year. Now that's the one the computer came up with. So if the birth year is less than year, then, and we just used the curly braces, then the result will be, and here's where we're going to output. So we're going to put document dot, spell it right, get element by ID, and then parentheses, and then we're going to put demo, and then we're going to put dot inner HTML, and then we could just put equals yes21. Then we don't have to put a whole string after here. We could put yes21. So if that's the case, we can output that. So let's test this. Let's just test this and make sure it works. That means we'll have to use 2001 when we enter it. Because if you add 21 to 2001, it would come out to 2022, and it would be less than the current year. So let's just run it. Let's just, birth month, doesn't matter. It's July. And 26th. And if I put in 2001, you are 21. It works. So this validates as correct. So if the birth year, whatever it is, 2001, and you add 21 to it, and it becomes 2022, that's less than the current year, which is 2023, and that means they have to be 21. So that passes. So we can output that. Now, we have some other things. So that's where we're going to do else if. Now, the other condition is going to be if the year's the same. So we got to put a condition here. So the other condition is going to be, and we mentioned it down here, if it's the same. If it's the same year, so if their birth year and you add 21 to it, it comes out to 2023. So if that's the same, and then what we're going to do inside here, we could go inside here and we'll put and. Now both of these things have to be true. So it has to be this year, but what month should it be? Well, if just going by month, don't worry about date. If it's just going by month, it has to be less than September. So that means if B month is less than month, now we should have the right numbers and hopefully these all worked out, but if the month is less than, so if it's the same year and the month is less than, that means if they were born in August of the same year or July or June or anything else, they'll be 21. So we can copy this because that's going to be yes 21. So that should work out. Let's just try this. Let's run it. And if the birth month is August, so that just the previous month, and 23rd, doesn't matter. And the year is 2002. Now that means if you add them together, it's the same year. If you add 21 to that, it's 2023. So that means that's this year. But because the month is less, their birth month is less than the current month, that should work out. Now this will also tell us if we have the number right. You are 21. And, well, that's right. It's still putting out the year down here, 2023. So that's right. So that's working. Okay, so hopefully that isn't too confusing. So if the year is less than the current year when you add 21 to it, and if it's the same year, it has to be the month that's less, and they have to both be true. That's why we're using and signs now. We're saying and. They both have to be true. And because I did this originally, and I just put this, I put something like, this and that, and it doesn't matter because you have to look at them individually. You have to break them down. It was coming out that one was working and it wouldn't even be the correct information. So we have to take it one step further. So we'll do one more here. And we have to break this out. Let me put this back on that line. Now this one is also going to be, now there's three things that have to be. It's if the year is the same, meaning if their birth year plus 21 is 2023, and let's say it's this month, let's say it equals, let's say it's September. Well, if it's September, then we have to take it one step further and say, okay, and another condition is that the date has to be equal to, it could be the date because it could be their birthday, has to be equal to or less than the current date. So then their B date has to be less than or equal to date. So again, if the year plus 21 is the previous year, they're fine. If it's the same year, then the month has to be less, and then we know that's good. And if it's the same month, then we have to know that the birth date has to be today's birth date or less. That means they already had their birthday. So there's kind of levels that we have to build up to. Again, I didn't want it to be this confusing or this complicated, but why not? I mean, why not kind of work on this stuff and figure it out? I mean, it's just a simple thing. If you ever want to be a bouncer or card people, you're looking at a card, you wonder, how do people know? You got to do some math. So we're figuring this out here. And then finally, these are all true. We have all these that are true, but what if not? Then we just have to put else, and we don't need a condition. We have to put curly braces, and we still have to put a result. So the result now is going to be, we could just copy this, and we could put this here. And instead of yes 21, it's going to be not 21. And let's see if it works. Run it. And I'll put in my younger daughter's birthday. She was born in August 31st, and she was 2004. Oh, sorry, you're not 21. Let's try another one. Let's say your birth month is September. And your date of birth is the 19th. Wait, let's try the 18th. Let's see if it's today. And the year you were born was 2002, which if you add 21 to it, that would be today. So today would be your birthday. Let's see. This should let them in. And you're 21, so that works. And just to try one more, we'll try it if it's the 19th, the next day. So we'll put September, and again, we have all these variables. You have to spell things right. September 19th, 2002. Now this should not validate that. That should be not less than or equal to date. That should be over the date, which should push it over here. Let's see what happens. Sorry, you're not 21. So that pushes it over. And you could certainly console log anything out to check them. Sometimes we do this just to check what's going on. Because if you're not sure, this will give you the values of variables down there, which are helpful. So this is working. Now, the only thing that isn't working yet is we don't have it working on a button. And the reason we want it on a button is because when you open it up in a web page, let's open it up, it goes right to here. And it comes up and it's kind of annoying. So it'd be nice if you could initiate it by hitting a button. That means we'd have to make a function, and we'd have to start this all with a function. That's not that hard to do, but we're going to do that next. So we'll do that in the part 4 video to kind of wrap this up. But let's do it. Let's cancel all this here. Let's refresh this. Let's try it one more time. Let's see if I'm 21. So November, and I'm 21. So I make it in there. So what we're going to do next is just make all this code basically get generated when we do a function. Now, we have to be careful with it because maybe we don't have to do everything. Maybe just part of it can get generated. Maybe just this end part can be generated with a function. But we actually want the prompt in the function because we don't want the function to actually start yet until we hit the button. So we want to make sure that this prompt is part of the function. So we'll do that in part 4.